Great. So our CEO, Ivan Cooper, is going to kick things off with an official welcome before handing over to our very special guest, Minister of State for European Affairs and Defence, Jennifer Carroll MacNeill. Then Christine and I will take you on a tour of Access Europe and give you an overview of our services and our impact. We will do a quick digital consultation, which sounds more sophisticated than it actually is. And we will finish up by sharing some upcoming Access Europe events and things to look forward to for the autumn. So that is it from me for now. So over to you, Ivan.
Great. Thank you very much, Emily. Hello, everybody. My name is Ivan Cooper. I'm CEO of The Wheel. The Wheel is Ireland's National Association of Community Organisations, Charities and Social Enterprises. And we are delighted to be here to welcome everybody to this special event showcasing Access Europe, our EU funding support service for Irish civil society. And a very important service it is too. So this vital programme is made possible with funding from the Department of Foreign Affairs, originally piloted through Atlantic Philanthropies. Some of you may remember the wonderful work that Atlantic Philanthropies did in Ireland. The Department of Foreign Affairs came on board as a funder in 2020. And since then, Access Europe has supported over 100 projects to draw down over 12 million euro of European Union funding into Irish organisations. So it's made a huge difference so far. Over the summer, our contract was renewed, and so we're now secured for another 3 years of Access Europe, thanks to the DFA. And I'd like to thank Minister Carroll MacNeill for the contribution and the ongoing support from the Department of Foreign Affairs for this crucial work. We're really excited to continue to deliver this important programme in collaboration with the department and to grow the supports we offer. So we're really delighted to have this short session today just to refresh people's memories about Access Europe and what it can offer to organisations hoping to maybe start or indeed to scale up their EU funding journey. And we're especially delighted, of course, to have our special guest, Jennifer Carroll MacNeill, TD, Minister of State at the Department of the Taoiseach and at the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of Defence as well. Minister of State Carroll MacNeill has been a great supporter of the Wheel over the years and indeed the community and voluntary sector and social enterprise sector through Access Europe, and is here now to say a few words to introduce our session today. So, Minister, I'm delighted to welcome you along. Thanks so much for being here, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Ivan. I'm so excited to be here, and it's wonderful to see all of in the chat box, all of the different organisations popping up in the names of different organisations. I recognise so many, recognise the great work that they do. There's a couple in particular I know that you support. Eveness Domestic Support, which is for women and children, which is something very close to my heart, as is Epilepsy Ireland and Acquired Brain Injury Ireland. So it's wonderful to see all of the different groups pop up, and you recognise all of the contribution that is made to civic society through the excellent work of these different groups. But I really want to pay tribute to yourselves on the Wheel, on the Access Europe programme since 2020, and of course through the earlier programme through Atlantic, as you've said. And this collective effort has enabled us collectively, Ireland, our groups within Ireland, to draw down, as you say, well over 12 million, nearly 13 million of EU funds since 2020, which helps us deliver well over 100 projects across the country. This is real life difference. And Access Europe represents, the investment by government in Irish civic society. And it really strikes me so much of my work in Europe at the moment is about criticising places like Hungary and Slovakia and Georgia that are hampering the work of civil society, that are making it impossible to work, that are actively pursuing civic society in the most dreadful ways. Whereas in Ireland, it's so wonderful to just take a moment of reflection today and look at this collective work that we do together, government and civic society, working and supporting each other for what? The benefit of our entire collective community. And I just think it's important to, just note our own collective efforts as a contrast to what we're seeing, which is the dampening down and stifling of civic society in other EU member states. We must never forget how important it is that civic society is invested in, is supported, because we just cannot do the scale of work without working with each other. I do understand, however, though, that it's all very well delivering for the community, but it comes at substantive administrative cost as well. It is an administrative burden to manage correctly, the procurement processes, the funding processes that are there. And that's why this work is so important. This supportive work is so important. It can be daunting. It can be overwhelming. The scale of the paperwork can be tricky to navigate. And that is a barrier that we don't want. And that's where the Access Europe comes in such a successful way. And the work that the Wheel does through Access Europe helps build capacity within civic society. It helps build support and collaboration, and supports organizations doing what organizations do best, which is working in their communities, for their communities, and for the better of their community. I think it's important, sometimes we think about Europe, which we shouldn't, as over there and somebody else's business. But it's wonderful to reflect today that this is a really tangible benefit of EU membership, is a really tangible benefit of our contribution, our financial contribution to Europe. Of course, we must remember that we've had the success in this state of going from being a net recipient of EU funds, and that was so important to our development. But now we're a net contributor. And that costs us, of course, as taxpayers and as society. And we do that so that we can bring up other communities across the rest of Europe that are struggling in the way that we did. And Ireland, I think, is defined in its foreign policy by that sort of philanthropic outlook, by that sort of humanitarian outlook. But it's also important that we get a little part of it back for our own communities. And this is what, this is what you're doing. And it is so very, very important. The EU has committed to protect and support civic society during the next cycle, the 2024 to 2029 institutional cycle, and will continue to provide financial support. So my message to you is continue to ask for it and continue to work to support each other to make sure that we are getting the benefits that I think everybody should benefit from. And the Department of Foreign Affairs is hugely behind this, and will remain hugely behind this. It's easy for me to say. We're really proud of the work that Access Europe do, that the Wheel do, connecting this piece of work, which is something that is too far for us to be able to do. It is really important that this is led by civil society, and we're so proud to work with you on that. And in many ways, I often think about it must be so daunting, that first step, applying for EU funding and having these pathways created by the Wheel, by Access Europe, and by each other in that peer-to-peer support way is so very, very important. So look, we're delighted to support this next phase of Access Europe, which will see the development of, I think, more interactive, more innovative resources to support Irish organisations. We can always do this better. We can always find more exciting or more efficient ways to deliver our support. I just want to say that we're so proud of the work that you do. Thank you for the work that you do, and to come to us always for that ongoing engagement. And let us never forget, and let us never get to an Ireland where civic society and government isn't working absolutely hand in hand for the betterment of our community. And I'm so proud, and thank you for enabling me to make a contribution to this today. I wish you well in your seminar for the rest of the hour.
Well, thank you so much, Minister Carol McNeill, for those really encouraging words. And I just note a few of the things that you said there about the crucial role of civil society in EU democracy. And of course, with the recent appointment of our commissioner as well, the importance of that role too. So it's great to hear that understanding on the part of our government.
There is, if I may, Ivan, there is just one other thing that I should probably mention, which is to encourage groups as well to look at the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Communicating Europe initiative, the annual grant scheme. So there are grants available between €5,000 and €10,000, and it's just another piece just to have a look at that. And I'm sure you can discuss that later. But I know you're familiar with it, but it is available, so please do apply.
And you're absolutely right, Minister, because I think what we can both work on very strongly together is overcoming this sense that Europe's over there. Europe, we're part of Europe. Europe is us. We're Europe. Europe is us, and that's the best way to understand it. And the whole spirit behind Access Europe was exactly that. You said it yourself, it's to make sure that some of the increased capacity requirements in Ireland are met from the European funds that are there, and to make sure that we don't see those funds as somehow something else. And it's great.
That's it. And I just see a question of what was that fund? It's the Communicating Europe Initiative annual grant scheme. And it's basically aimed at projects to deepen public awareness of the role that the European Union plays in our daily lives, Although I always thought that the single greatest thing that made an impact on people's daily lives was whatever about employment equality, getting rid of phone roaming charges, like if you wanted to explain Europe in one sentence to a teenager, well, of course they didn't understand phone roaming charges, but so it's to promote the European Union and the value of democracy, the value of the rule of law. So please do apply. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Sorry for continuing.
Thank you, Minister. And I'm now going to pass over to Emily. Is that back to you, Emily, at this point? Yeah.
Yep, it is. Thank you, Ivan, and thank you so much, Minister. All right. Okay, so Christina, just give me a shout if anything looks wonky, but I think we're okay. Great.
We're great.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to have a whirlwind tour of Access Europe, our services and our impact. So as you are hopefully aware by now, Access Europe is a support and capacity building program for Irish civil society organizations to better access EU funds and engage in EU policy. But that is a bit of a mouthful. So we would like people to think of us as your one-stop shop for all things EU funding. And when we say civil society, it's basically just sort of a blanket term for NGOs, community-based organizations, social enterprises, academia, and city and county councils and regional assemblies. So we do spend most of our time supporting NGOs and community-based organizations and social enterprises due to the nature of the Wheel's work and the makeup of our membership, and because traditionally these are the types of bodies that tend to have a more challenging time accessing EU funding. However, a lot of our research and information is applicable to all sectors, and it's freely available for anybody to access. So the main thing to know is that at Access Europe, we provide 4 key services. So information and resources, events and training, help desk support, and support with network building. And now Christina and I are going to share some examples of what these 4 key services look like in action. So starting with information, we have our lovely Access Europe website. On the website, we have our EU funding guide, which gives handy overviews of the major EU funding programs and key EU policy areas. So that includes things like the social economy and the Green Deal. And we have really nice kind of whiteboard videos that go through the key objectives of these policy areas so that people can refer to them when they're making EU funding applications. So we also post all of the EU funding deadlines that are relevant to Irish civil society on the website. And these include things like having the key details available to you at a glance. So things like the budget and the number of partners needed. And we update this regularly. So we're also going to be doing a major overhaul of the website in this next phase of Access Europe. And that will include developing an e-learning platform so that all of the resources that we've put together over the past 3 years, all of our templates and all of our trainings will be in one place and easy to access. So literally watch this space for developments. Another of our key services in terms of information and awareness raising is our monthly newsletter, where we highlight all of the EU funding deadlines that are relevant to civil society. So this is handy because if you've ever looked at the Commission's funding and tenders portal, you'll know that there are hundreds of funding calls to trawl through. So we've tried to make the process of finding the right funding call a bit easier. So the newsletter also highlights relevant EU policy news, updates, and training and events. And you can sign up for the newsletter on our website. And signing up for the newsletter also means you'll be updated on developments relating to our e-learning platform and other upcoming Access Europe activities. So we will make sure to include the link to the website and the newsletter in our follow-up email. And Christina is now going to share a bit about our training and events.
Yes, hi there. Hello, everyone. Happy to have you all on this webinar today. And I'm happy to share another essential part of our services, and this is the training and events. And I would like to give you just a short overview of the broad range of online webinars, in-person workshops, and networking events that we're hosting. Just to mention, all of those events are free of charge, and they cover a diverse range of topics. It's all around EU funding or EU policy, and you just see like a short overview here on the slide, what we did in the past or what we will do in the future. So we have very practical trainings with tips and tricks where you learn how to write applications or to find project partners or getting started with EU funding in general. Or we also run special event formats. This can be that we have a focus on a specific EU funding program like Erasmus Plus or the Interrex. So to really dig deep and to understand this program and the opportunities it has to offer for civil society organizations. We also have a focus on engaged research. where you maybe learn how to build a research plan for your organization, or we have events on single EU policy topics. And this can be like we had before, disinformation, media literacy, or at the moment, digital inclusion. As I mentioned, all of this is free of charge. Some events are online, some are in person. We usually announce them in the newsletter that was just mentioned by Emily. We also announce them via our social media channels, and I share those links later on, or also on the Wheel website. There's an amazing training and events calendar if you don't know yet the Wheel trainings and events calendar. I will also share that link. And all past events. So in case we record them, you'll find on our YouTube channel. Again, all of this will also be shared with you. So we have a YouTube channel and you can rewatch all sessions there. I would just like to mention some upcoming events that we have in October and November. We have 2 events in Galway and Cork, and they have a focus on digital inclusion and digital transformation. And we run an event with Trinity College Dublin next week, and this has the focus on engaged research. So we work a lot also in this space. I will share those links in a second. And just to mention very quickly, we have also a very big annual event, and that is the Access Europe Showcase. I will tell you more about that later on, so that you can mark your calendars. Yeah, and for now, you're warmly invited to join our events and to meet us there.
Great. Thanks, Christina. So the other service that we have is our help desk support service. So in terms of help desk support, we provide one-to-one advice meetings where we give general EU funding advice, and we provide feedback on organizations' project ideas and whether or not they have EU funding potential. We also signpost organizations to the appropriate funding program and the national contact point for their project ideas. So once the national contact point confirms that your project idea fits within their specific EU funding program, we can also help with the application by providing tips and feedback and doing an overall review. And then when your project is successfully funded, we can help put project management supports in place for you. And that includes things like we can deliver trainings on risk and conflict management. We have tools for monitoring impact and dissemination. We can help you put structures in place to manage reporting, and basically kind of provide you with a lot of resources and tools to make your EU project management team or staff members' lives a lot easier. So the idea is that Access Europe is there with you from start to finish for your projects. We really want it to be as enjoyable an experience as possible so that you keep going back to EU funding. And so here I've just included some screenshots of different resources that we've created over the past few years. So together with Lergis, who are the national contact point for the Erasmus Plus program, we created a roadmap that should help organizations decide whether or not Erasmus Plus funding is the right option for them. And then the other thing that I've included is just a screenshot of our project concept note template that we use to help organizations sort of put some structure on their EU funded project ideas. So we have a lot of different resources like this at hand, and eventually all of these things will be on our e-learning platform in one handy, easy to locate place. So that's just a sample of some of the things that we can offer through our help desk support system. And the other thing to note is that if you do have specific questions about EU funding programs and EU funding projects for your own organization, we won't be able to answer those specific questions today. This is just an overview of the services that we provide, but you can feel free to get in touch with myself or Christina, and we can set up a meeting to talk about your project ideas and what's best for your organization. And now it's back over to Christina to talk about our network building supports.
Yes, thank you, Emily. And I'm happy to introduce another essential service from our team, and that is all around network building. We have this as an own pillar in Access Europe because it is essential for EU projects to have European partners. It is in most cases obligatory to set up a partnership. And we're trying to support you in finding project partners or to be found. So there is one way we're supporting you with, we are offering dedicated trainings with tips and tricks, with advice, so you are very well equipped yourself to find project partners in Europe, to set up a partnership, and so forth. And on the other hand, we have the Access Europe Partner Database, and this is an online tool. You find it easily on our website. It's showcasing Irish civil society organizations, and you are very welcome to set up their profile for your organization, to show your work and to tell about your EU funding goals. And then we promote this partner database around Europe, and you can be found and can be contacted. it. So it's kind of a twofold process that we're offering here for you. And we have also other networking opportunities. As I mentioned before, we have the Engage Research Space. So we're running at the moment also networking events in cooperation with universities across the country, where you as a civil society sector have the possibility to meet academics, to meet researchers, and maybe develop a research project together. So we're trying to bring here different groups into a room. And also what we have is the EU Project Managers Network. And this is a network actually for those already running EU projects to exchange knowledge and for peer-to-peer support. So if you're interested in any of those services, you can contact me directly. I will also put my email in the chat in a minute. And that's from my side. Back to you, Emily.
Thanks. So now that we have covered our services, we just wanted to highlight what our impact has been through the delivery of these services. So as both Ivan and the minister mentioned, in terms of numbers, in the first phase of Access Europe, we supported the drawdown of almost 13 million euro in funding for Irish organizations through EU-funded projects. And the total value of all of those projects, including all the other partners that are involved in the projects, was 47.7 million euro. So in this next round of Access Europe, we have the ambitious goal of supporting the drawdown of 15 million euro in funding for Irish organizations. So wish us luck. And now we're going to show a short video that has some testimonials from your peers in the sector who have benefited from Access Europe.
Access Europe is a support and capacity building programme for Irish civil society organisations to better access and manage EU funding. It's delivered by us at The Wheel and it's funded by the Department of Foreign Affairs.
When we began to get involved with the EU funding, it was because we were doing a lot of work engaging communities together. One of the programmes that we actually did was tied in with our St. Patrick's Day Festival and the Polskiego Festival. We actually had members from Poland, from the city of Marburg with us here. They took part in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Now we would not have been aware that there was a twinning funding there until we contacted Access Europe and The Wheel, and they put us in the right direction then for the European Citizens Fund. And since then we've actually developed a wonderful programme because of them, that we can now have 3 different twinning variables going on at the moment.
Smashing Time's International Centre for the Arts and Equality started with EU funding in 2007. We have learned so much from working with European funded projects. We have made numerous friends, we have developed partnerships. It has enabled us to expand our work and to reach more audiences. And I think it has opened up our vision.
EU funding has enabled us to increase raising awareness about children's rights in European countries, as well as to develop and upskill our programs regarding child participation in decision making in both schools as well as in public spheres in Europe.
One thing that actually stands out is it can be very daunting when you look at an application. The reason why we're so happy that we've done it is now we have 18 different partners right across Europe. And that is only because of the way we went down through the Access and the European Assistance Fund. It opens up so many friendships and partnerships. You will learn from your partners.
One of the European funded projects we're working on is called Forgotten Voices, Stories of Courage, Hope and Resilience from the Holocaust and World War II. Using the arts to remember stories of people who stood up against totalitarianism and stories of ordinary individuals who stood up for the rights of strangers. And then the idea is to use those stories to encourage communities and schools and youth groups to talk today about what does it mean to stand up for the rights of others.
EU funding is special because it enables us to collaborate with and to learn from partners in various countries in Europe. So in our project we're working together with 7 different countries in total. This cross-country collaboration really allows us to gain new valuable insights and to exchange best practices and lessons learned.
The biggest challenge is actually writing the applications, and I think The Wheel would second that on us because we would have been in touch with them on a regular basis to ask for advice on it. It's a minefield without the support of Access Europe and The Wheel.
When you're working on European funding, it's very important to have support in your own country. Access Europe has been absolutely fantastic because they're there to provide excellent guidance and advice. And anytime you have a question, it's great to know that you can pick up the phone and there's very positive, friendly, helpful people on the other end. It has also helped us very much in the idea of showcasing the work we do. Very often when you work in civil society on the ground with communities, I often think the work can be invisible. And Access Europe is very important for that because it's making connections between different groups, it's enabling us to showcase our work, and it's providing much valued guidance and advice.
Because it's our first project, we found it challenging in the beginning to settle on everything. Access Europe provided us with very excellent support. It started with quick and helpful advice regarding proposal development, but also on settling the grant agreement. Their help has been very great for me as a project coordinator to know I could always pose my questions to someone. It has been quite a challenging journey in the beginning, but very much worth it.
I would encourage any organisation, no matter how small or how large you are, to get involved in EU funding. There's a wonderful willingness to share what we've learned and to bring others along with us, and that's really important.
The Wheel are only a phone call away. Just pick up the phone and call, ask the questions, you'll always get an answer.
We really want to encourage everybody to look at the opportunities that are out there. EU funding is an investment, but it's a worthwhile investment, and we're here to support you along the way. So please do sign up to our events and our newsletters, register on our new EU partnership database, and reach out to us for support.
Right, so hopefully that is a ringing endorsement to reach out to us and get support through Access Europe. Okay, so now that you have heard from us and about the services that we offer, we would like to hear from you. So this is the digital consultation portion of the event. We're just using Menti to ask 4 questions, basically about your involvement with EU funding and your experience with Access Europe, if you've engaged with us before, or if you plan to in the future, what services might be most of interest to you. So you can participate in the Menti by joining at www.menti.com and then using the code 71940919, and we'll put this in the chat too. Or you can scan the QR code. So there should be 4 questions that pop up and you should be able to move through them at your leisure. So I'll leave this here for a second so people can scan the QR code, and then I will share the Menti so we can kind of see some of the results coming in. Right, I will stop sharing that for now. And let's see. Okay, cool. So we got some results on the board. I will share them. Okay, so first question, have you been involved in EU funded projects before? So 35, not yet. 13, yes. So yeah, it's great that we have people that haven't been involved yet. So hopefully this will inspire you to become involved as you're now aware of all the excellent support that we can provide you and make this a painless process. Okay, and then for those that have been involved with EU funded projects, we wanted to see which EU funding programs you've been involved with. So Erasmus Plus, Europe for Citizens, DEAR, SERVE, someone that's interested in the LIFE program, AMIF. Great, so a good spread, and this is all very helpful to know. We'd like to see which kind of programs have proved to be the most accessible for Irish organizations and see which ones might still hold some barriers and see how we can kind of break those down for people. And then which Access Europe services have you used for those who have? So information awareness, so the website and our newsletter, then that's our training and events, great to hear. Help desk support and network building. So if you haven't access to help desk support or network building, then I would encourage you to do so because as you see, we have a lot of resources there to enable people to find partners, to put themselves out to potential partners across the EU. And then finally, which Access Europe services are you planning to use? Great, so information and awareness, training and events, most popular. our help desk support, and our network building. That's great to know. So this will be open for the rest of the day. So if you haven't had a chance to feedback yet, then you will still be able to. And this is very useful for us as we head into the next 3 years of Access Europe. So thank you for participating in that poll. Okay. And then just one more bit of the presentation. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some specific events and initiatives that we have coming up for Access Europe this autumn. So this week, we launched the 3rd edition of the hashtag Our EU Story Awards. And these awards celebrate the transformational impact that EU-funded projects have on communities and organizations across Ireland. So basically, entering the Our EU Story Awards is your chance to showcase the difference that EU projects have made in your community, and you can also win up to €1,000. So what's not to love? And then there's €500 each for 2nd and 3rd places. So entries to the awards consist of a maximum 140-second video shared on either X or Facebook, and then a brief application form. So the awards are open to civil society organizations that are based in the Republic of Ireland who have taken part in an EU-funded project or activity. So as I mentioned, applications open this week, and the deadline is the 18th of October. So you've still got plenty of time to get your application in. Last year's winners were Leave No Trace, Mullingar Employment Action Group, and Carberry Housing Association. And definitely encourage you to head over to the Access Europe website. There's a special tab for the Our EU Story Awards, and on it you can check out the video of all of last year's entries, and you should get some inspiration from watching that. It's really great. And also on the website, you'll find the terms and conditions, lots of detail about what we're looking for in terms of the entries, and of course the application form. So we're really looking forward to seeing more fantastic entries this year. And we will announce the winners at our Access Europe Showcase, which Christina is going to talk about now.
Yes, absolutely. I mentioned it before. So this is our biggest annual event, the Access Europe Showcase 2024, and it will happen on the 21st of October in Croke Park in Dublin. The goal that we have with the showcase is usually to celebrate Irish civil society and to showcase EU-funded projects. And you have the possibility at this event to learn about EU programs and to about EU funding opportunities. You have a possibility to network, to exchange with sector peers, but also with other EU stakeholders. And you will have the possibility to get to know the Irish national contact points for various EU programs. You might know for every program, we have an excellent national contact point here in Ireland, and they present their programs. They will be there. They have an expo, so you can talk to them directly about those EU funding programs. On the agenda, we usually have keynote speakers. We have a panel on EU funding success stories. We have networking opportunities, and we have, just mentioned by Emily, the ceremony for the Our EU Story Awards. So we will announce the winners directly at this event. So registration is not open yet. This will be soon the case, but mark the 21st November in your calendars already now. And I think
that brings us to the end.
Yes, exactly. So that brings us to the end. This was a lot of information. I'm pretty sure of that. You're very welcome to sign up for our newsletters, follow us on social media, or contact us directly. We shared the email also in the chat right now. We will put all those links, all what we mentioned, all those slides, the recording in the follow-up email that will go out this week. And yeah, we're here and we're happy to support you on your European funding journey.
Yeah, and I would also just encourage people to check out our YouTube channel. So there's a lot of handy videos on how to get the most out of the Access Europe website. So looking at our EU funding guide and our policy guide. And then also there's a separate video on how to get the most out of our partner database. So you can watch all of those for guides as to basically how to get the most out of Access Europe. And then for those people that are completely new to EU funding, and kind of want an overview of what it's all about and what kind of programs are out there, there's also a video that is called An Introduction to EU Funding Programs that I would recommend watching to kind of get a sense of whether or not EU funding is for you, and to kind of get a sense of all the different kind of varieties of EU funding programs that is out there. So have a look at that video, have a think about what you'd like to achieve with EU funding, and then get in touch with us, and we can get you started on your European funding journey. So yeah, that's it from us. We will be sending out a follow-up either tomorrow or early next week with this recording, with all of the links and the slides. And that's it. So thank you very much for joining us. A big thanks again to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Minister Jennifer Carroll MacNeill. We're very much looking forward to the next 3 years of Access Europe.